A fed-up homeowner in Sydney, Australia listed his condo for sale with a very candid description of the tensions among his feuding neighbors, for example. That was in there. He writes, for example, quote, "Every time you drive in, you're just getting death stares from everyone." That was in a real estate listing. What do we make of this? And also, how much legwork should you put into knowing about your neighbors, your neighborhood, before you buy?
I mean,
good question, huh?
Generally speaking, I'm here for brutal honesty. I would prefer that to the alternative. But when you're selling a house, you have a lot of money at stake. You can't afford to be brutally honest. Like, I think of a woman in my neighborhood who was selling her house. And I know for a fact she had a horrible relationship with her neighbors. They once called the cops on her. She put up tall trees along the periphery just to block their view in. But when she was selling the house, I said, "Are you gonna make any mention of the neighbors?" And she laughed and said, "Of course not. Why would I do that?"
Yeah.
But I get what she's saying, and I actually think the onus is on the person buying the house to do some investigating on their own. I once had someone come up to my house and say, "I'm thinking of buying a home on the street. Tell me about the neighborhood." And they ask very pointed questions. You know, what's the GO train going by? What does it sound like? What are the neighbors like? So I think if you're going to invest in a home, it's on you to explore.
Yeah.
That's a really good question.
I think you're right, but as we know, the real estate market, sometimes it's a seller's market, sometimes it's a buyer's market. Does that matter? Like, if there's 10 people bidding on one house, are you going to be honest? You could be, but if there's nobody buying, are you going to be honest?
I didn't do any investigating when it came to buying. I didn't. I was kind of naive, and I was just kind of like, we need to get into the market, and so we found a place that was, you know, like a relatively, at the time, a good price. This was like 20 years ago now. And if I had done any research, I would have discovered that there were a lot of very weird neighbors, like very, very sketchy, weird, nosy, like all of the kind of stereotypical things. But the thing is having been there so long, they're all gone. So, and now who's moved into their places are actually lovely people. The neighbors on both of our sides, across the street, they're all different. It's had a huge changeover. So I wonder if in some cases, it's actually bad to have too much information, because I would have missed out on a great opportunity. I know I would have. And I've learned to love so many things about that. So sometimes you have to remember, people move. People change, so I don't know.
Go ahead, Jess.
Well, I was just going to say, when you mentioned buyer's seller's market, when I moved to Hamilton and was able to get a house there, it was a seller's market. It was a feeding frenzy. 2021, we must have seen 50 houses, and we bid on 11 of them. And we did have criteria, but you know, like I wanted to be able to bike to a GO station and be able to walk or bike to get groceries. So after that, we weren't even paying attention to neighborhoods, really. We're just like, can we afford this? Boom, boom, boom. We now bike by or drive through houses that we did bid on and didn't get, and we feel so grateful because by sheer luck, we hit the most beautiful neighborhood with the best neighbors. So, but that's just luck. That's
You didn't ask any questions.
Didn't know. Not in that neighborhood. We just, because they were going to accept our offer without overbidding. We were just like, yeah, okay, we're done.
Well, I'm so glad you didn't come see my condo. This was going back to the early 2000s, and King West in Toronto is an area where it used to be really, really sketchy, and then it gentrified quickly, and then there were condo projects on every single block. And we were coming in as a young couple, Ryan and I, and it was a seller's market. So we were just like, we'll get anything, and we really wanted the neighborhood. So we bought almost sight unseen. We visited it once.
Wow.
We were living there. And one fine day, we open up, it's first spring there, you open up the door, and I said, what is that smell? It's a slaughterhouse down the street.
Oh my.
And anybody who's watching from the neighborhood knows this was a 100-year-old abattoir in downtown Toronto that predates all of the condos there. So guess what? When we were getting ready to sell, I said, oh my God, what are we gonna do about the slaughterhouse? Nobody's gonna buy. And it was definitely a buyer's market. There was not a lot of action. There were not a lot of buyers out there. So sorry, whoever bought my condo, but we said you can only come and visit and do viewings during a very small window of the day.
Wow.
And I'll tell you why. I know it sounds nasty, but also when they were in full production, it wasn't just smell. You could hear the little piggies.
Oh my God.
It's so bad. But I needed to sell. I'm sorry, I needed to sell my house. I'm sorry.
Just to save you, it's gone now, right? So whomever bought the condo.
That goes back to your point.
Exactly. Things change. The neighborhoods change. That abattoir is gone now.
Abattoir is gone.
So it's all fine. It all worked out, guys. It all worked out.
This is why I was vegetarian for so long. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Okay.